there is some news about the Tesla Model Y, and I know it's been a while since we had anything at all going on, and I think the last news was really this image. This is the second image that came out from Tesla, just as shadowy and very Model 3-ish like. But yesterday during the earnings call for Tesla, there were so many big news that I think the news about the Model Y kind of fell through the cracks. But Elon mentioned, and this is pretty big, that he actually approved a design of a Model Y to go in production. Now, by production, he doesn't mean actual like mass production, a production of a prototype. It's probably prototype, alpha prototype. And, alpha prototypes are pretty still close. Like, for example, the very first one that was unveiled for the Model 3, that was an alpha prototype, and it was still, in works. And I know they've done some a little bit of tweaking especially for the front of the car, but nevertheless that was pretty close. So it looks like it's there. Now let's talk about what does it really mean, right? Is there a timeline? Is there, what can we expect? Will be a separate launch for Model Y, where it's going to be made? So most of these questions we can kind of sort of guess, but of course I'm always looking forward to your comments in the comment section about what you guys think is going to happen with this. And by the way, here's the original picture of the Model Y that they released. So as you can see, these are, pretty shadowy, pretty dark. But I think we can definitely see that it's something that's going to be made on it's going to look like a Model 3. Now, I know originally Elon said that this car is going to be kind of built on the top of Model 3 platform, and then he kind of backed off of it, right? Now, I think that he might just go back to the original idea, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it makes way more sense to build the Model Y literally on the platform, on the powertrain of the Model 3. And also just kind of wanted to give you kind of an update on the timeline and where it's going to be made. Of course, before that, I want to remind you guys that this show and this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Teslas, including Model 3. And whenever Model Y is out, I'm sure they'll have a few for that one as well. There's a discount code in the description of this video, so go ahead and grab it and save yourselves a few bucks when you shop there. All right, so so far I'm gonna go with the timeline that Elon so far gave us, March 2019. That's where he said that there will be a launch of the Model Y. I'm assuming that's where we'll be able to reserve the car. But of course, just like Model 3, it might take a while for it to actually hit production, and after that, scale the production and stuff like that. Now we know that the factory that they're building in China, and they're really trying to get it going by 2020, at least a little bit, but definitely by the end of 2020. That's where Model Y is going to be made, as well as Model 3 and a battery for it. But it is not very likely that a Model Y that's been made in China is going to be imported here in the United States, because nobody knows what's going to happen with tariffs. No one is going to, it just doesn't make sense. So there is probably another possibility of either building another factory here in the United States, or building one in Europe. Now, smart money says that they're not gonna build a factory. So I think what's gonna happen, they're gonna use one of the factories that they already have, either one of the gigafactories and have some lines there, most likely the one in Nevada, or they are going to still push the limits and start making the ones for the United States here in Fremont. And this is where I think the decision is going to be kind of made for Elon, where if you're going to be building a Model Y on a completely different platform with a completely different robots, you're going to end up having to build a completely separate conveyor and getting different parts. And I know a lot of parts will definitely be different, but if you build it on the very same platform as Model 3, which is a good platform, I mean, everybody who took it apart was impressed, even the haters, right? They were like, well, this car will never make a profit, but it's made very well, right? So it's a good platform, Elon. You build it, remember? So I think that it will make much more sense to build it on the same platform, and therefore they will be able to use the same lines that are building here in the Fremont factory, and then just they have the Model 3, Model Y for China, built in China. So I think that would make more sense. And of course, it would be just a question of how fast these lines can move. And I'm sure by then there will be 4 or 5 lines, especially now that they're kind of don't mind building out tents outside and kind of keeping the production there. So it is very likely. By the way, here's another picture that we kind of think that this could be one of the very early kind of mock-ups of a Model Y. This was part of the video that Tesla put out there, and people noticed, including me, that, hey, this car doesn't kind of look like a Model 3, so this could be Model Y. And Tesla likes throwing stuff in there, to make us guess and whatever. And this kind of does look like what Model Y can look like. So anyway, so those are only 3 pictures that we kind of know that's out there. About the launch. Now we know that Tesla hasn't done any big events since the semi truck, which turned out to be Roadster, unveiling now pretty much a year ago. And I think they're kind of out of publicity stunts, and I mean it in a good way, right? I mean, yeah, next quarter is going to be great, but the fact that they're profitable this quarter was that big news. That kind of a conclusion of the Model 3 ramp up and the profitability profits promises and stuff like that. So I think that's they might just move the unveiling launch of the Model Y, dare I say, maybe but at the end of this year, maybe early next year. I think that's a possibility. Now, if they are going to keep the launch of the Model Y in March, which is going to be a while, right? I'm not really sure there's enough excitement to kind of roll all the way to there, but who knows? I think by then they might just have something else for us. And obviously they want to outdo themselves every time, and it's becoming more and more difficult, especially after the last time, right? I think there might be a pickup truck somewhere in there. Now, probably it's really hard to stuff a pickup truck on the back of the Model Y, but I think we might just see something in there that will indicate that the pickup truck is already in the works, and it's probably further along than we might think. And of course, that will create a lot of speculations enough for another year or so. So that's what I think as far as what the timeline is going to be. I think Elon is right when he said from the very beginning that this is probably going to be the most popular car that they're going to sell. Compact crossover SUVs are very, very popular. I think people will already trust the Model 3. By then they will know that, hey, this is a really, really great car. This is just kind of a family version or so. It's going to be a hatchback, obviously. That's something that's missing for a lot of people who are buying Model 3. And the price, I think, will be just under $40,000. That's kind of reasonable to expect. Model X is about $5,000 more than the Model S, and I think this is reasonable to expect that they'll probably price it to like $39,900 or so. Obviously, by then there might not be any incentives at all, so that would be the actual price minus whatever incentives you might have in the state in states here in the U.S. And obviously other countries will probably still continue doing some incentives on their own. So I think the Model Y excitement is kind of starting to build, and I think that one little thing, I don't know if Elon meant to say it during the earnings call yesterday or not, but it's definitely moving the whole new step, knowing that there is not just a drawing, not just a computer generated mock-up, but the actual thing is going to be made or already in process right now. So by the way, before anything, I want to give a shout out to one of my new Patreons, Michael Yaley. Hopefully I pronounce your name right. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon community. This is where you guys not only get to support me, and I really, really appreciative of that, because of course I just went full time with this whole YouTube thing, but also you're the first ones to see my videos because I do it live, as I'm doing right now. I'm doing the extra mile segment just for Patreons. I post some other exclusive material here that I don't really post on social media. And of course, if you want to comment or ask me a question every single time, I always read them. I always reply. So thank you so much for that. Other than that, see you guys next time. And remember to stay charged.